Today we're going to be watching a video called Why the Netherlands is so insanely well designed.
This is a map of bike path density in Europe. All the purple lines are bike paths, and if you direct your attention to the left part of this map, you'll see a coastal country with a lot of purple lines. This is the Netherlands, a densely populated country that knows a thing or two about designing brilliant infrastructure. And the bike paths play a significant role in that. See, with a population of 17.4 million people and a landmass of approximately 41,500 square kilometers, the Netherlands is smaller in size yet more densely populated than most European countries. So, in order to navigate that, they've come up with effective and interesting ways to handle population movement in and around their country. The most notable of which is, of course, the cycling infrastructure. And yes, it is as serious as everybody says it is, as it enables the 23 million bikes that are in the Netherlands.
How come they have more bikes than people?
And by the way, 23 million bikes means that there are 1.3 bikes per capita. That's absolutely insane. I mean, what would the bike per capita be in the United States? Maybe 0.5?
We have point something.
It's 0.3. That would mean if you met an American, there is a greater chance they're obese than them owning a bicycle. Mad. Anyway, when you
oh my god, that's so rude!
With its amazing public transport, you get a ridiculously smooth and efficient system. Here's how it works in Amsterdam. Commuters will use their bikes to get to and enter transit stations, where they simply park their bikes in these enormous bike parking garages.
This is crazy.
Then they'll travel on either a bus, tram or train to their final destination. But most of the time the fastest and most convenient option is simply taking the bikes to the final destination. But why is cycling the most convenient option? What has the Netherlands done for this to be the case? Well, the country has made cycling incredibly easy, with 32,000 kilometers of bike lanes that aren't just a small strip along a heavily trafficked road.
Crazy.
No, the Dutch do things differently. They have marked out red asphalt pavements like this strictly for cyclists. The only time cars and bikes end up on the same road is when the speed limit is less than 30 kilometers an hour, and car volume is low. Any higher than that and there is a clear separation like this one, even on highways and roundabouts. But the Netherlands is a whole lot more than just biking and their capital city, Amsterdam. And to be honest, the most impressive infrastructure in the Netherlands is not even in Amsterdam. To see that, we have to go to Utrecht, a city that lies right here south of Amsterdam. It hosts the largest bike parking facility in the world. Room to park over 12,500 bicycles, and it has 24/7 camera surveillance. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. There's no way this can be replicated in other countries. This is alien-like. But that's a myth, and there's a very simple reason for that. Just take a look at Rotterdam. During World War II, the city was practically demolished and looked, well, like this. The Dutch had to rebuild everything, and they chose to go for an automobile-centered design, which is exactly how North American cities were built too. And considering where the Netherlands is today, it's crazy to think that many Dutch cities were heading in this direction too. But by the 70s, Rotterdam residents were tired of major road fatalities and plummeting cycling and walking culture. So they demanded reform. And the regulators listened. Public transportation was then heavily invested in, and roads were rebuilt to facilitate bike lanes. After which, cycling regained its popularity. This just goes to show that even North American cities can do this if they choose to do so. But the determinism and people-centered planning of the Netherlands extends out of the cities and into Dutch suburbs as well. To bring this point home, let's compare typical Dutch suburbs to those in a state that's just as bustling and growing. In the United States, Florida. Now sure, Florida is 3.4 times larger than the Netherlands, but the argument should still stand. So here is a typical Miami suburb. What do you notice? There's a lot of greenery, but mostly there's a lot of roads, and they're specifically made for cars. Sure, there are sidewalks, but they are thin and can barely accommodate a cycler and pedestrian at the same time. And now let's look at a Dutch suburb. The homes here are much smaller, and that's an important detail, as it leaves more space for communal centers like parks and proper biking and walking lanes separated from the road by greenery. I can definitely understand that it seems like a sacrifice to have smaller homes, but what you get in return is efficiency. And if time is the most valuable thing we have, then this system is superior.
Makes sense.
And while Dutch efficiency has become somewhat of a trademark for the country, things weren't always so blissful and enviable. You see,
Really?
technically speaking, a large part of the Netherlands should not exist, and this is what amazes me the most. See, the Netherlands was notorious for constant flooding thanks to its low elevation and closeness to the North Sea. But the Dutch have found a way to beat the ocean multiple times. This is the reason why nearly 20% of the land in the Netherlands is reclaimed land from the many marshes, swamps, lakes, and of course the sea. But how? Well, 2 words. Delta Works. After a deadly storm in 1953 that covered over 150,000 hectares of land and took the lives of an estimated 2,000 people, the Dutch decided something had to be done. Delta Works was the answer. Delta Works is a vast network of 13 dams and barriers, featuring sluices, locks, dikes, and levees. They shelter off these 4 inlets, namely Haringvliet Dam, Broersdam, Oosterscheldekering, and I'm sorry, Dutch people, I tried my best. Anyway, they used these to reduce the coastline by 700 kilometers and remove the need for smaller and weaker levees and dams that would require constant maintenance. Pretty ingenious, I gotta say. But the Dutch haven't just prevented floodings, they've also created new land. And they achieved this without using modern technology. How?
That's even crazier.
First they would section off the areas they wanted to reclaim, whereafter they would drain the water out by harvesting the energy of the wind, using, of course,
windmills.
This
obviously
created flat plains comprised of a very unique soil that happens to be perfect for growing tulips. And this is why the Netherlands account for 80% of the world's tulip exports.
That's crazy.
Which is kind of strange to think about. But today, these waters and innovations have earned the Netherlands some pretty envious titles, including the largest storm surge barrier in the world, that laid the ground for the largest and most efficient seaport in Europe, the Port of Rotterdam. Located here in the delta of the Rhine and Meuse rivers, Rotterdam is in a perfect strategic location for ships coming from or going into the North Sea. To understand the sheer size of this port, here is a map of Manhattan laid on top. As you can see, the port of Rotterdam is about 1.5 times the size of Manhattan. It's huge. And with 82.5% of the Netherlands GDP coming from exports, it's fair to say that the port of Rotterdam is really important. I could go on and on about this port's efficiency, but all you need to know is that it wins best port infrastructure year after year. The Dutch are incredibly talented at designing great infrastructure. I mean, just look at the Amsterdam airport, Schiphol, the 3rd busiest airport in Europe. It looks pretty average until you consider the number of people moving through this structure. Schiphol facilitates 68 to 80 million passengers annually to 332 direct destinations, utilizing its 6 runways facing multiple directions. Schiphol coordinates an average of 1,500 to 1,600 departures and landings per day, giving them an hourly average of 110 to 120 aircrafts. And Schiphol accomplishes this despite being smaller than other major airports like Adolfo Suarez Madrid in Spain or the Leonardo da Vinci International Airport in Italy. The best thing about this airport though is that once passengers arrive, they have a number of transportation options, as the high-speed Thalys and Columbus trains can be accessed just beneath the terminal building. From here, you can take a 15-minute ride to the Amsterdam Central Station, or use the Dutch rail network to travel across the country. Honestly, you could go anywhere from here. If trains aren't your style, then the airport offers affordable express buses as well. The funny thing about this airport though is that it's 4 meters below sea level, sitting on what used to be Haarlem Lake. But all in all though, the Netherlands is an overload of intelligent design, and while some people might think it's nearly impossible to implement these methods into other countries, the reality is these methods can be replicated any place in the world if the people and leadership are willing to collaborate and listen to one another, and invest in infrastructure that is people, environment, and future centered. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Okay, yeah, okay, so this is really, like, it was, I think, the right word for this is efficient. Like, everything's efficient. Like, the whole design of this country is efficient. Everything is made out to be, like, to take the most out of it and to make the most out of it, and that's why it's so efficient. And I think if I had to just describe the Netherlands in one word form, I could say it's just efficient, like, everything. But it's sort of like, it surprises me a little bit. Like the thing about it, to begin with, like it's crazy, like the amount of like bikes. So people, there's more bikes than people. So is it like people have more bikes? You know, you have 2 bikes. Why would you need 2 bikes? Like I would think, you know, each person like has 1 bike. But that's also like not taking into account, you know, because they say like 17 million people, you know, throughout the whole country. And it's like, okay, great, but you know, out of that population, like you have kids and babies, and they're not using bikes. Well, I think kids probably do use bikes, considering like what I know of the Netherlands. Probably kids as young as like 3 years old are using like their bikes, little like tricycles or like the training wheels. But it's like there you have babies also like counting in this population like measure. So it's like it's even less like how the people that actually use bikes are like what 15 million probably. I'm just eyeballing it. So how do they have? So it's even more bikes. So it's like wait. So do the people just have like 2 bikes per people per person? Why is that? I would think like again you just need to like 1. Or they just like leave it somewhere and it's like I have my work bike, the one that I use like to get around on my weekday, like go to work, go like running errands. And then you have like your weekend bike, which is the one that you use to, I don't know, travel out of town, I don't know, visiting friends, visiting family. Is it like that? I have no idea, but I'm so confused about the fact that there's like more bikes than people, because it's like, okay, so what, like, why people have more bikes? I don't get it. You would only need just 1 bike. But the thing about like also like regaining land and taking like land, like removing the ocean, removing the water, and just making land when there was previously water. I think that concept to me is very, like, it's weird to me because I can't really understand it. Like, I know it works, obviously, but I can't really, like, wrap my head around it. It's like, how do they do that, actually? It's like, they fill it, but how? Like, do they put, like, soil? But how much soil would you need? And they say, like, they drain the water, but it's like, so where does that water go? And can't you just, how long does it take you to drain an ocean or a sea? Like, it's a large body of water. It's not like you're filling out, like, I have to drain my tub. It's like, no, it's big. Like, how do you do that? I know people obviously do it, and as humans, we've accomplished this, but I don't understand, like, the mechanics of it. So to me, it's like, this is crazy every time. Like, I mean, it's crazy. But I'm so surprised about the fact that the airport is the 3rd largest airport in Europe, which surprises me a little bit, because I think, you know, the Netherlands, again, is that it's a smaller country. So I would think there are other countries that probably have more movement, just because of the fact that they're bigger, and probably, you know, people are using them to go, like, just for transit, not just like I'm going to visit this country, but just for transit. But no, apparently, like, because again, it's very efficient. So maybe I'm totally mistaken, and because they are, like, it's the location in Europe, and probably it gets you to a lot of places if you go to the Netherlands, and that's maybe why it's so, like, a busy airport. But that surprises me, and also, like, the amount of movement they have, and also the fact that it was previously, like, beyond sea level. It's like, oh my god, so this used to be an ocean. Like, this is crazy. I'm sorry, but it is just insane. And I like the fact that it's like, well, you know, they're I can't, you know, because it's all design, but it's so weird to me that he's like, well, you know, everything, like, he encourages, you know, other countries to do so, and it's like, hey, the Netherlands could do it, and they were able to do so. Because even in the 1970s, like, it would be unheard of, like, to, like, if you probably, I haven't seen pictures of the Netherlands in the 1970s, but apparently it was more similar to what we know, like, other cities with, like, a lot of cars, and people revolted. They were like, no, we don't want this lifestyle. We don't want to, like, because apparently there were a lot of car crashes, and people were, like, tired of that lifestyle. They're like, well, no, we want options. We want bikes. And it's like in Rotterdam specifically. And they managed to do so. I would be so interested to find out, like, how exactly it happened. Because he's like, well, it's easy. It's like, I don't think it's that easy. And I don't think it would be that easy, like, as easy. Like, it's easy to say it. And it's like, you can do it. Like, the Netherlands were able to do so. So you can do it. But it's like, well, I don't know if that is that easy in reality. Because, again, I think you really do need the mindset. Like, people need to change their mindset. You know, the citizens of this city or of this country need to change their mindset, which is quite hard. hard. And also, obviously, the government needs to be able to do so, and they need to obviously invest a lot of money into it. So it's a lot of like, there's going to be a will from both sides, from the government and from the citizens, because I think even if the citizens want it, maybe there's some pushback on the governments, because it's going to be so expensive that they probably just tell you no. Or maybe the government wants to implement changes, but the citizens are so used to that lifestyle that they're like, absolutely not, like we want our cars. So it's hard, and I think it's really hard. And I think I would be so interested to find out if there's another country that has replicated or wants to replicate this sort of infrastructure, like these days in the modern era, because I don't think, like, I can't think of any. I don't think there is, but maybe there is one in the world, and I would love to find out if they want to do it, or if they have done it. And obviously they've taken to the Netherlands as an inspiration, because of course, like, that would be what I'm obviously looking forward. I'm looking to like what they did, but I don't know if it is that possible in reality. But again, it would be so interesting to find out if more people have follow along, because I'm guessing it also, you need a campaign or something that is going to take you like a bunch of years. I don't think it happens overnight, again, because you need to change people's mentalities, and you would need to change that, and it's not going to happen like, in 2 years. I think it would be a gradual change for people to get used to it, and then like, okay, like we want this. But it's absolutely crazy that they managed to do it. I think it has to do with like how they are, like how the Dutch people are built, like the citizens. But yeah, this was incredibly interesting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.